Hello, welcome to Gamer Fuel. I'm RPG Maniac 05. I'll be your host for this evening. For those of you joining me for the first time, Gamer Fuel is a segment I created in order to help gamers in the kitchen. Tonight we'll be going over roasting, which is a simple cooking technique that doesn't require that much labor, so I figured it'd be an easy starting point. If you join me in the kitchen, we can get started. Here we have a large mixing bowl, which we'll be using to hold the vegetables or anything we actually need to hold in. The thermometer, I probably won't be using it today, but just in case you want to measure the temperature of your food. My knives, I have a chef's knife here, and next to it is my Santoku with the cutting board underneath it, which we'll be using to cut things today. And the two spoons, I have my wooden spoon and the basting spoon. The basting spoon is the one I'll probably be using today because it's bigger, holds more liquid. And finally, the roasting pans, which we'll be using to roast the chicken in. Here's the food here. We have the salt and the pepper. And next to it are the vegetables that we'll be using in the roast today. We have green beans that I already have cut on a bias here, the baby carrots that I already bought peeled and washed, the broiler onions, or you could use pearl onions as well with this if you wanted to, and potatoes. I have Yukon Golds here because they're my favorite kind of potatoes, so those are what I decided to use. Let's see, next to that we have the Cornish hens, which we'll be roasting today. They're like little mini chickens, I guess you could say, because I mean that's what they are. And let's see what else we have here. We have all this stuff for the compound butter, which I have in the cup here, which is it already done. I'll show you how to make it in a few minutes. Next to that I have the rosemary. It's a kind of aromatic herb. Some flat leaf parsley, and the butter and oil, just in case we were gonna, oil them instead of use the butter for the chicken. I also have garlic here, which I'll be using to put in the compound butter. Now to start the butter, we put about half a cup, I would guess, into a separate container, because we'll be mixing it later with the other ingredients. So just, you don't really have to measure, it's not necessary, but for those of you who like to measure things, about a half a cup or so will be adequate. Okay, and then I will get the garlic, which will be grating into the butter with my microplane, but you can chop it as well if necessary, or if you choose to, I should say. So we're just going to break off about 4 or 5 cloves, and I'm going to cut off the ends of them and peel it and put it in the butter. So I'm just going to show you one of them so you don't have to sit here and watch me go through every clove of garlic before we finish the butter. So as I said, I'll cut off both ends. Try to move so you guys can see, because the lighting in here isn't the greatest right now. And then after cutting out both ends, I'll just take the skin off of the clove. Now usually you could probably chop this really roughly or finely and throw it in the butter, but I'll be using my microplane today because I really don't feel like going through the trouble. And we'll just grate it into the butter directly. And that's pretty much it for the garlic. The herbs. We'll start off with the rosemary. You'll want to pick off maybe a couple of sprigs or branches off of the larger branches, because we won't be using a lot of it. It's a pretty powerful herb. and you want to avoid overdoing it with herbs like that. this includes stuff like sage and, you know, thyme and other herbs that are really aromatic. I will now show you how to get the leaves off without much fuss. You hold the tip of it and you just run your fingers down the branch, and it usually comes off without a problem. It's being difficult today. And we'll do it again. And you'll want to just rough chop the leaves so you don't have whole leaves in your butter. I mean, although you could if you really wanted to, it's not a big deal. So we'll just rough chop. Sorry for the camera again, because I know with me chopping it's probably moving quite a bit. So yeah. And then after it's decent size, we'll just take it and dump it in the butter with the garlic already in it. And then we can get ready for the parsley. Time for the parsley. You just pick off a few leaves, and probably enough for about half a cup or so, and then just roughly chop it. And you should end up with some chopped parsley. You just throw that into the butter and we'll mix it up. So all the ingredients are in there. You have your garlic, the rosemary, and the parsley leaves. And that's pretty much all you'll need for the flavoring with the butter. And thanks to the magic of television, I already have some of this already done. And here's what the finished product looks like. Ta-da! And now on to the chickens. You'll want to cut them out of the packaging. I say do this over the sink because there's going to be a lot of leakage. So there's a good chance you'll have a lot of chicken juice everywhere. You don't want that all over your counters or anything because, yeah, salmonella is not a fun thing. I'm going to take this out here. Inside one of the cavities is usually a bag with all the entrails and everything. You can just dispose of that. It's not necessary to keep. This is the back side of the chicken, and this is the front, which will be having facing upwards when we roast it. So we just put it in the roasting pan with the other chickens I already have prepped out earlier. And I have my salt and pepper nearby on standby. But first, let's wash my hands because I have chicken juice all over them. It's important that you don't cross-contaminate anything because, like I said, salmonella, not a fun thing at all. So anyways, we're going to season the chicken with salt and pepper relatively lightly because we'll be using the garlic butter to actually take care of all the flavoring for the chicken. Now, usually you'll try to get the seasonings in like the cavities of the chickens, both the top and the bottom, but it's probably going to be a little difficult with me only using one hand, so you can go ahead and just dump a little bit on top of it. And this is what it looks like once it's all seasoned and has the garlic butter rubbed all over it. And they're ready to go into the oven, which should be preheated to 450. Probably should have said that earlier. Because we're going to oven sear them first. So we'll just put them in there. And after that, we close the oven and we're almost done. Alright, so we're going to baste the birds. You want to do this like every 12 minutes or so while you're cooking, just to keep the bird moist, but you don't want to do it too frequently, otherwise you run the risk of drying it off. So all we're going to do is just spoon up a little bit of the juices that are in the pan and kind of dump it all over the bird. And you'll do this for all 4 of them. So you want to try to do this as quickly as possible, but since I'm showing you, I'm working a little slower than usual. And now this is about the color you want on them. They're nicely seared. You'll now be putting the vegetables in them for the final part of the roast. Oops, excuse me. So we'll just get the vegetables that I already mixed earlier. As soon as I adjust this camera. Sorry. And we'll take the vegetables that I mixed a bit earlier and scatter them around the pan. And you'll try to just get them on the open spaces as much as you can. Avoid hitting the chickens, because otherwise you'll like scrape off the herbs and everything that are already on them. Now once we get started with this part, we'll check on it probably 2 more times again in order to mix the vegetables up so they all get mixed into the juices and they'll roast better because they'll have the extra moisture on them. But I won't be showing that part, so that's what I'm telling you now. At this point you want to turn your oven down to 350 to make sure it's a lower temperature than what you were searing it on. And 350 is a decent temperature to do that at. So turn the oven down to 350 and we'll finish the roast at 350. And I'm going to go ahead and roast the other vegetables separately because I still have a bunch of leftovers, so I'll throw a few more in here, and anything I have left I'll just put in a separate pan and oil them up, and they'll go alongside the rest of the chicken and or cornichons, sorry. Alrighty, and it's time to put these bad boys back in the oven for the final part of the cooking process. Have to make sure it's not hot because it just take it out of the oven. So after about an hour or so, they're done, and the vegetables are cooked, the chickens are cooked, everything's done. So that's pretty much all there is to it. Thank you for joining me, and hope to see you next time on the next episode of Gamer Fuel. Out of Hello, welcome to Gamer Fuel. I am RPG Maniac 05. I'll be your host for this evening. Tonight will be crap. Hello, welcome to Gamer Fuel. I'm your Hello and welcome to RPG Maniac. Son of a